Hello, everyone. Welcome to Barça News. It is November 15th, 2025, and a report from Mundo Deportivo revealing what Hansi Flick is trying to do to fix Barcelona's defensive problems. Also, Ibrahim Diarra has suffered another setback. And finally, Etta Eyong fueling the Barcelona transfer rumors. We have a lot to discuss, so let's begin. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the channel. My name is Boo, and I'm bringing you this pretty late live because today I had a very crazy day. I just got home like 30 minutes ago. I didn't have enough time to film, edit, and post, so I'm just doing this short live to keep you up to date on all Barcelona news, kind of like I do when I travel. But this time, I'm not traveling. I'm going live in a few more moments because there is more news that cannot fit all in one video. But let's start with today's news because, as always, as it's become customary here in Barca News, we do recap the results of the international matches that concern Barcelona players during this FIFA international break. It's starting with Spain because Spain today defeated Georgia. Yes, Georgia 0-4 with a goal by Ferran Torres, where Ferran Torres played 80 minutes, Pau Cubarsí played 90 minutes, and Fermín López played 28 minutes. Not too happy about Pau Cubarsí's minutes, playing 90 minutes, because especially towards the end, he had missed 2 matches due to some, physical, not discomfort, but fatigue. And now to go and play 90 minutes under De La Fuente. Ferran playing 80. I guess Ferran doesn't really play 90 minutes all the time with Barca, so I guess it's fine. And Fermín López playing 28 minutes. But the interesting thing about this result, the 0-4, is, well, it confirms that apparently Spain can win against these smaller teams without Lamine Yamal, right? Because during the first FIFA international break, when Luis De La Fuente called up Lamine Yamal arrived with discomfort. Barcelona notified Spain that Lamine Yamal had some discomfort, and they forced him to play against Bulgaria. And I said, did Lamine Yamal really need to play against Bulgaria? You tell me Spain cannot beat Bulgaria? And well, as we know, Lamine Yamal ended up getting injured, and instead of sending him home, they pumped him up with painkillers, and they forced him to play again. And the second time it was against Turkey. And again, I said, did Lamine Yamal really need to play against Turkey? Like, you're telling me Spain cannot win against Turkey? Well, apparently they can. They can win against these other teams, smaller teams, without Lamine Yamal. After all, Spain does have one of the best, if not the best international squad in the world right now. So, no, you do not need Lamine Yamal. I mean, does Lamine Yamal make the team better? Of course, he makes any team better. He is one of the best football players in the world. But do you absolutely need Lamine to beat the likes of Georgia and Turkey and Bulgaria? Well, the answer is no. So why all the scandal and why all these statements, the back and forth with Luis De La Fuente? Well, it's pretty simple. Because he's a mediocre coach and a mediocre person, a very small-minded person. Because look at the difference. When Hansi Flick lost Lewy and Lamine and Rafinha, that's his starting 3. When he lost Pedri, that's his most important player. When he lost Joan Garcia, that's his starting goalkeeper. Did he whine? Did he bitch? Did he cry like Luis De La Fuente? No. He said, this sucks, but we're going to figure it out. He made adjustments, and he continued moving forward. Luis De La Fuente, on the other hand, he has an incredibly capable team. He's playing against these smaller nations, but no. He has to cry, he has to bitch, and he has to throw a tantrum. Why? Because Luis De La Fuente is a mediocre coach and a mediocre person. And the crazy thing about all of this is that Hansi Flick is limited to 26 players. So when someone gets injured, he's limited to that small pool. Not only that, he's limited to Barcelona's finances and financial fair play, which means a lot of those people within that pool are academy players, are young, inexperienced players. Some are not even Barca level, like Ferran Torres or Gerard Martin. And yet he still doesn't complain. Meanwhile, Luis De La Fuente is not limited to 26 players. He's limited to hundreds, if not thousands of players, because anybody with a Spanish passport that has chosen to play for Spain can be called upon by Luis De La Fuente. Not to mention that Spain has some of the best players in the world. So he has a much bigger pool, an incredibly talented pool, and yet he bitches, he cries, and he whines. Why? Because Luis de la Fuente is a small-minded, mediocre person and a mediocre coach. But anyways, let's continue with the other Barcelona players currently on FIFA international break, because Switzerland today defeated Sweden 4-1 with Rooney Bardarji not playing any minutes. Then we have Denmark that drew with Belarus 2-2. Andreas Christensen playing full 90 minutes. I don't know how happy I am about this. I mean, on one hand, he is a substitute, Christensen, so I guess it's not like he's tired and he's fatigued and he's been playing every 90 minutes. But after all, Christensen does get injured every time he sneezes or coughs. But hopefully he'll return healthy from this FIFA international break. Then we have Uruguay that drew against Mexico 0-0 in a friendly match, because pretty much South America is done. We know who's going to the World Cup and who's not. Araujo did not play a single minute, so that's good. Poland yesterday, or the day before yesterday, I can't remember. But Poland drew with the Netherlands. So Lewandowski versus Frankie de Jong, where Frankie played 90 minutes. Not happy about that, because Frankie plays a lot. And to also play 90 minutes with the Netherlands, not happy about that. Lewandowski playing 89 minutes. Also not happy about that, especially because, Lewandowski is going to have more of a rotational role this season because of his age. But yet, Poland keeps playing him every single minute. He did provide an assist, by the way. Then we have France on Thursday defeating Ukraine 4-0. Jules Koundé playing 89 minutes. He missed the last match before the break with Barca due to injury or due to fatigue, discomfort. Goes on, plays 89 minutes with France. Not happy about that whatsoever. And then we have England defeating Serbia 2-0 with Rashford playing 64 minutes. So that's how our players currently faring in the FIFA international break. And with that, we move on to the next bit of news, because while all these players are on international break, and while the rest of the team had some days in the gym and then Friday, Saturday, and Sunday days off, Hansi Flick has been hard at work with his assistants to try to improve Barcelona's defensive problem. Now, it's been reported or has been spotted that Flick set up a giant screen at the training grounds where he was seen watching tapes and videos with his assistant, Westerman, Haiku Westerman. That's the third guy on the left that you see on your screen. It's Flick on the right. In the middle, it's Marcus Sorg. And then on the left is Haiku Westerman. Haiku Westerman is the person in charge of the defense. And Flick and Westerman were watching all these videos to try to identify where exactly Barcelona are messing up defensively speaking. And it seems that Flick has come up with some improvements or adjustments in three areas when it comes to the highline. And that is when to step up and when to drop back, and also how to maintain proper body positioning. Because Flick has noticed that some players, sometimes they step up when they're supposed to start tracking back. Some players start tracking back when they're supposed to step up. And a lot of times sometimes when they do the offside line, some players don't have their body position in the right way, which of course can make the other player or the opposing player onside. If your shoulder is out or a little bit, behind, you get the idea. And of course, a great example of this is, I can't remember if it was the match against, it was a goal because where Araujo takes a step forward, try to set a trap, even though the opposing player was running from his own half. That's a perfect example of that, where Araujo should have started tracking back, because there was no setting an offside trap there if the opposing player was running from his own half. So that's a perfect example of a mistake that that highlights this mistakes that Flick has been seeing. Also, of course, Flick has noticed that the team needs to press the ball more aggressively. This is something we've talked a lot about on the channel. For example, Mbappe's goal in El Clásico, Bellingham had several seconds with the ball, gave him plenty of time to plan and execute his pass to Mbappe. That's a great example of how the highline is not working, because this team is not pressing aggressively, as I've explained before on this channel a million times. The press is very important for the highline to work or for the offside trap to work, because the press, you either recover the ball, so then you don't have to worry about the offside because you recover the ball. If you don't recover the ball, you cause enough delay to where your backline can set up the trap, or at least you force the other player to make a mistake because you press them right away. And then again, that helps you with the defending. So that's why the press is very, very important. And that's another thing that Flick has highlighted from watching previous matches. And the last thing is Flick was seen also working with Jose Ramon de la Fuente. He's the coaching goalkeeper because out of Europe's top 5 leagues, Wojciech Szczesny and Joan Garcia have had the most defensive actions outside of the box because, of course, the Flick system requires them to come off their line a lot. So Flick has been working a lot with Jose Ramon de la Fuente, the goalkeeping coach, to kind of improve those details with Barcelona's goalkeepers so they could be better alert and they know when to come off their line, when not to come off their line, how to come off their line, etc., etc. But hopefully we'll see all these adjustments reflected in the upcoming matches, and hopefully we can see Barcelona's defense improve, because when you look at last season's numbers, for example, during these first 16 matches, Barcelona has their offside trap has worked 66 times. They have caused 66 offsides versus last season. During the first 16 matches of the season, it worked 105 times. So 105 versus 66, of course, a big difference. But hopefully that difference can be made up. Also, last season, during the first 16 matches, Barcelona conceded 16 goals. So that's almost 1 goal per match. Now we have conceded 22, so a difference of 6 goals. By the way, that goes to my point that I always say when people are like, we conceded goals. I'm like, we've always conceded goals. That's literally how our system is. But anyways, more goals this season, of course, but nonetheless, we're still conceding a shitload of goals because we always concede a shitload of goals, because when you play offensively, you are going to concede a shitload of goals. Of course, the important thing is to score more than you concede. All right, let's do the last 2 bit of news. One of them is not good news because, ladies and gentlemen, Ibrahim Diarra has re-injured himself again. Now, the 18-year-old Malayan right winger arrived in Barcelona as soon as he turned 18 because he really impressed the club and Barcelona had really high hopes with him. When he first arrived, he had a slow start because not only did he have to adapt to a new team, a new league, a new country, a new continent, but he also arrived after a long absence from the field because of an injury. So he came out of shape. He was also a little bit overweight. So it took him some time to adjust. But once he did, he became one of the most important players for the Juvenil A in that last season where they won the treble. And that, of course, got the attention of Hansi Flick. Flick called up Ibrahim Diarra to the preseason. He started training with the first team, but then he got injured. He wasn't able to travel with the team to the preseason tour in Asia. And then about 2 weeks ago, he finally recovered from his injury. And well, now he has relapsed again. So Diarra, the injuries are not being kind to him. So it looks like it's going to be more time before we can see him train or even debut with the first team. Now, we will end today's video with the statements of Etta Eyong, one of the players that Barcelona has on their list to replace Robert Lewandowski, because Eyong has fueled the Barcelona transfer rumors during an interview where he said that both Eto'o and Lionel Messi are his idols. Now, this is what Etta had to say. When I was a child, I watched Eto'o's matches for Barcelona. And then he moved on to say, for me, Leo Messi is the best, and playing with him would be a dream I wouldn't want to wake up from. In 2 years, I imagine myself winning the Champions League. Why not in 1 year? And the Africa Cup of Nations is also a goal for me in a few months. Finally, the attacker talked about his mentality, and he said the most important thing in life is the brain. If you don't have concentration, you lose everything. Now, you might say, Mo, how is Etta Eyong fueling the transfer talk? Well, as you know, there's a lot of clubs that Etta Eyong are interested in Etta Eyong, and it's reported that Etta Eyong would prefer Barcelona over all these clubs interested in him, including Real Madrid. And while by choosing Eto'o while he was at Barca and Lionel Messi, this, of course, is kind of like a hint to Barca, like, hey, I like you guys. I'm here. Sign me up. You know, players do that. You know, for example, players who want to sign for Madrid will talk about how Ronaldo is the best ever versus players who like, you know, who want to be signed by Barca usually say that, no, it's Messi. So Etta Eyong, I think, kind of sending like a hint to Barcelona that, yes, he is interested in coming to the club. Anyways, that is all the news for this video. I'm going live in a few more moments because there's more news to cover. Don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, drop a comment, and as always, be Barça.